Aditya is one of the most technical person in India. I can say not in India, I can say in the world. So you can ask whatever the doubts you want, and he is the, I mean, Salesforce. He is the person who is going to solve your doubts. And we are today, especially, we want to put the Q&A session for a good number of time, maybe more than 15 minutes or like that. So whatever the questions you have when he is doing something. Maybe he's giving demo or anything, he is giving update on a product or any release, then you can put it in the chat window, so that at the end of the session we will read those. And fortunately we are also prepared for Aditya, because we do have some doubts regarding Salesforce. He is the person who is going to solve them. Yeah.
Hey Aditya.
Hey Aditya. Aditya, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Aditya? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey
Yeah,
Aditya,
yeah.
nice to see you.
Warm welcome to you. So we are excited to have this session with you, and we are honored that you are here with us today.
Aditya, any comments on the number of members?
Oh, I was just seeing that 135 is a lot of members.
Yes.
It's nice to see so many people on a Sunday, that too.
Yeah. So,
okay, then can we start, Aditya?
Yeah, your wish.
every Sunday we are coming with one informative session, and today also we came with another session, which is TDX 20 Global Gathering, and we are honored to be here with you guys. Okay, guys. So this is our agenda today. So we start with our welcome keynote. So following that, we have a glimpse of TrailheaDX 2020, which has happened recently. So I will want to share that updates, and we have some overview on admin and development tracks with demos. So definitely this would be really useful for all of you guys. And followed with we have question and answer session with Aditya Naag. Along with you guys, we also have some questions to ask Aditya. So after that we have Kahoot quiz. So yeah, so this is the thing that after the question and answer session we have quiz. So you will have an opportunity to win the $200 or $400 certification voucher. So after that we have the closing keynote. So this is the agenda, guys. So be prepared for yourself.
Hey, there you go. He is Aditya Naag Topalli, Senior Developer Evangelist of Salesforce, and you can follow Aditya at the rate of Aditya Naag. So Aditya, before you start, I just want to give you I just want to share one story which is in between us.
Okay.
Please, it is not internal story, okay? So guys,
by the way, so,
yeah, we are going to upload it in YouTube also.
oh, very good. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, Aditya, is that okay?
I don't know what story you're going to share. So
No, it's normal. So guys, this is the global gathering, TDS global gathering, right? So 6 months before or 5 months before, I went to my first global gathering. I can say my first Salesforce community event, which is to Hyderabad. I went to Hyderabad from Vijayawada with my team, KL University team, which includes Channababu, Praveen Goli, and Sandeep also. And we traveled from Vijayawada to Hyderabad for that global gathering. So the main agenda for me to attend that event is to obviously to go and see the global gathering, how the events will happen. And we at that time we are having a event, KL University Mega Community event. And I just want to meet Vishwa Vikas Dagla. So he's the mentor for me from the start. So I just want to go and meet. But I came to know that Vishwa is not attending that global gathering event. And I came to know that the speaker of global gathering event is Aditya Naag. And trust me guys, I don't know who is Aditya Naag. So I was like, okay, if I'm not going to meet Vishwa, at least I'm going to meet Roshan, Aditya, Nitisha, all these people. So I was in the bus and I was sitting, and something I was thinking. At the time I thought, okay, who is Aditya? I just want to know about him. I just opened my LinkedIn and searched about Aditya Naag. And trust me, guys, I was just blown away. His his profile is like way more exceptional. And Aditya, the profile, what we can say, the description of your profile itself says that how much technical you are, how much hard work you did, how much passionate about the technology you are. So I was really blown away. And also, if I am down, or if I am uh, like if I am not doing well with my studies or learning stuff, do you know what is the mantra? I will open my LinkedIn and I will open your profile, and once again I will read the description.
Okay.
And it will give me hard slap to me. Like, okay, you
Much
have
hype
to.
nobody gave to me till now.
And yeah, really, Aditya, the accomplishments you have from the age of 18, you visited so many countries. You did some community stuff, marketing cloud, group leader, uh, what not. I was a big fan of your Instagram also. So no more internals.
Okay.
And this is Aditya Naag for you guys. And Aditya, this is the story from my side, and we just want to hear your story from your childhood or from your college age.
Childhood, okay.
Whatever you're comfortable with, but we want
No
some,
comfort.
we want to know about the group members
Yes,
want to know.
and Aditya, and before you start the deck, we would like to hear that story, and we will proceed with the TrailheaDX recap. Please go ahead.
Okay. So before I get started, it is like almost reaching 150 people. I'm wondering, like last time, did you say if you don't attend this global gathering, you won't get attendance in college or something?
No.
Yeah, it was college propaganda, right? So here there is no
Yeah,
such thing
there is
to-
no compulsion
Yeah.
for everyone. So
Okay, then it is
We
interesting.
got 300 RSVPs, Aditya,
yeah, we got 300
Which is-
registrations so
which is
far.
equivalent to one of the biggest communities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, like.
Oh
And
yeah, definitely. We saw for global gatherings only in person in Hyderabad we see 200. So Hyderabad and Bangalore are the largest groups that we see till now, and I think maybe you will become a strong competitor for both of them in the next 1 year, is what I think. If there are in-person events, hopefully.
For sure, for sure.
thank you for
And
the
you
kind
will be the
words.
speaker for that event.
Yeah,
Everywhere you'll include me only.
Ah.
Okay. I don't know. You summarized everything that I want to say. So
No.
but we want to hear from you. The group members want to hear from you.
okay. So my story is okay. I don't know if you guys watch stand-up comedy or not, but there is this guy Arvind Sa, and he recently did one thing on Sundar Pichai becoming a Google CEO. So at which point he's like, if somebody from a third world country like India becomes CEO of a global company, then people can't take it to be a normal, typical upper middle class story who did their engineering, went to US and all of that. So he was like, they want to add some spice to it, some rags to riches story and all of that. He was telling about instances where the way it was publicized was Sundar Pichai came from a poor upper middle class family, and he lived in a very small 3 BHK apartment. So contradicting words, 3 BHK and small and stuff like that. So mine is definitely not a rags to riches story, which is why I bought that thing up. It is a typical engineering graduate story only. But yes, I always liked computer science, which is why I took up that course in MGIT Hyderabad. And I was a gold medalist, by the way, not to brag and all, but just so that you know. And yeah, I was, even during engineering, I was always interested to, I liked building stuff that looked nice. So back then, my college website was not looking nice. So I was like, I went to my IT sir and I told him, I want to build something for MGIT. Is it okay? Then he said yes, and I built it. That is what is currently live. Um, but they made quite a few changes. Okay, so don't judge me by the current state. It was a little bit better then. Um, So that is how I started off. And I mean, in college, you generally, there is this group mentality, right? So people join the Samirpet and they learn a lot of stuff. One person will come to college after summer holidays and he's like, I learned Android and stuff. So I was like, okay, everybody is learning Android. Let me not do that. And I started learning programming for Windows Phone. And I built 2 apps on Windows Phone back then. And of course, now Windows Phone altogether is not there. So you don't get to look at my apps. So that is how I started programming, and I never found it to be so difficult also. Again, that is just me, because in the end I thought it is just business logic. Syntax, of course, you can Google. So I never found it to be too difficult to do something. And my friends often keep telling me if there is something in the lab or whatever it is, if I say it'll take like 10 minutes to do it, they know that it'll take me 1 hour, but I'm very poor with timing skills, which is why almost never my sessions have completed on time. Always I went at least over by 10 minutes. And I think the last webinar that we did about performance improvements on Salesforce Lightning, that we thought it would be just for 1 hour, and we spoke for 1 hour 40 minutes. So I mean, people stayed until that point, but we got some comments saying that, oh, you said this is 1 hour, why is it going so long? So I beat my own record. Previously, I mean, generally we try to do the webinar for 1 hour, and we plan to do it for 50 minutes and 10 minutes for Q&A. We beat that record by doing it for 1 hour, 10 minutes, at which point we felt very depressing. Oh, we went over time, this is very bad. But after looking at the recent 1 hour, 40 minutes, I'm like, 1 hour, 10 minutes is very good. So pretty bad with timing though. So like that, college happened. And then I got a job offer from Persistent Systems. The interesting part about that is I was not even interviewed because I was the college topper. They just gave me the job. They said, here is a visiting card. If you're interested, please give us a call. I'm like, okay, more than happy to work with Persistent. Again, at that time, the other job offers, I'm not going to name the company, but I thought between those, Persistent was a better choice. And then I joined there, and again, I would say fate or whatever it is, they directly put me into the Salesforce team. We started getting trained on Salesforce from day one, at which point they just showed us these point and click things. They're like, okay, this is how you create an object. Once you create an object, you create these fields and this layout is going to appear. So me and my friend, Sri Teja, so he was also an equally techie guy like me. So both of us were sitting together listening to those training sessions, and we were like, okay, this seems to be very basic. There seems to be no programming at all. And if this is the stuff that I'll have to do for the rest of my career, it is very bad, is what was the first impression that we got looking at all the point and click. That is me being a lot of coding freak or something, whatever you people call it, a lot of things. But yeah, I like building stuff. I wouldn't say I like coding per se, but I like building new things. So that is how I got introduced to Salesforce, at which point, after a week of training, we were approached by some other project manager. And he was like, there is this thing called as OpenStack. Do you want to move from Salesforce to OpenStack in like a week? So we said, both of us were actually in the same mindset. So we both said, we'll go to our house, think about it, and let them know. And they tried to convince us about OpenStack. They said that it is all about low-level network programming. You get to do a lot of interesting stuff. So we were like, okay, this sounds to be a lot better than Salesforce. At which point I went back home and I consulted with my aunt and all of those, everyone who are in the IT industry. They were like, we never heard of OpenStack, but Salesforce is going to boom. It is already booming and it is a most happening technology is what they said. So we're like, okay, let's go with Salesforce. So after that, we went full-fledged into the training, and then we came to know, okay, it is not just point and click stuff, but there is a lot other things that you can do. And from there, it all started happening. We were put into a project And I think that project is a turning point, typically because it was all a group of like 20 experienced people, and me and my friend were the only freshers in that group. So we were put there, and it happened to be a very high pressure project where we had to deliver a full-fledged application, including a website. It was basically to match teachers and schools, job application portal basically. It was supposed to be done in 3 months. The whole team was struggling. They put us in there. They said, "Okay, this is your module. You complete it." And then we completed that. And after that, they found us to be like doing things pretty quickly. At which point we came to know, because this is a high pressure project, we had no chance of going back home. So I still have those screenshots from my office attendance log where it showed we swiped in, and the duration between swipe in and swipe out was 18 hours and all of that. So between all of that, that project got completed. And I think because of that, in 3 months, we could learn so many things about Salesforce that would typically take you 1 year. Because it was like a high pressure project. They were like one module after the other, and everything dealt with new things in Salesforce. So the first thing that we wrote in Salesforce was on communities. So we had to learn everything about communities. And then immediately they were like, in communities, show this custom user interface and pull all the chapter feed and show it. So we built the custom user interface, for which we had to learn Visualforce, and then of course Apex. And then because we were trying to show chatter feed data, we also had to learn everything about chatter, what are the custom objects there, the whole data model. So a lot of things. So in a very short duration of time, we did a lot, including integrations with LinkedIn and Facebook. So the website, of course, you sign up anywhere. It's not just and say, I want to sign up with LinkedIn or Facebook. So we had to integrate with that. So there was a lot of things I did which really helped me. And then, of course, that project was done, and then the other projects. Finally, at which point, after 2 years of experience, I got an opportunity to go to Malaysia to work with a client there. I went there, I worked for 8 months, 9 months. It was again a different experience. Malaysia is not usually the kind of place everyone is interested in. If you say on-site, people generally assume it is the US. But like I said, because everybody's doing it, I wanted to try something new, and the opportunity came by. So I went to Malaysia. That happened. After which I came back. Then, so within these 3 years, I think, I mean, I'm still indebted to Persistent Systems because they gave me a lot of opportunities. And my mentor and my delivery head back there, Anju Mara Sayed, and Rahul Agarwal, Hyderabad head of Salesforce. Both of them encouraged me a lot, gave me a lot of opportunities. So then after coming back, I was directly put into a project. I was working on pre-sales also, by the way, where, I mean, in these 2 years itself, after delivery, I went into pre-sales. They taught me actually everything that has to be done before even a project comes to you. And that was all in training to go to Malaysia. And after that, I got put into a US project. Then again, they found me competent enough to go to the US and gather all the requirements and come back and lead a team. So that was a great experience for me. Leading a team to, I mean, I was involved in that project right from the sales part because I contributed to the PowerPoint presentations, getting the project, getting the requirements, building the project, and going back to the US for UAT, sitting with the users and seeing how are they using the application. So that's a lot of things that has happened in the past 5 years, after which the opportunity from Salesforce came by, and who working in the Salesforce platform would reject an offer from Salesforce. So I applied and I got the job, and here is where I am today. I think that is enough of me. I think all of
Yeah.
you are here to learn about Salesforce.
But Aditya, I was thinking that you are just maybe a technical guy, but you came down like you are the both technical as well as functional, because you were there in the pre-sales, you were gathering the requirements, you were doing the stuff, leading a team.
Yeah, actually, it goes both the ways. You can't just be a developer without knowing the other part of what is happening in the project. It is helpful to always know the big picture.
Yes. So on this inspirational note, on this beautiful journey, uh, let's start this TrailheaDX 20 recap. So Aditya, over to you.
Oh, until now it was not over to me. Until now I was only.
It's over
So you
to
were,
TrailheaDX. Until now it is Vijayawada and Aditya. Now TrailheaDX.
Okay. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes.
yes, you can.
So I'll keep the chat window open. So in case you want me to skip a topic, you can let me know. I don't know the kind of audience that is present, the whole 154 people who are joining. You might be from different backgrounds. So I'll try to cover things at a high level. And in case I feel the need or you feel the need that I have to go deep into some topic, let me know. And then we can definitely do that.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll,
so before anything, the forward-looking statement, please make your purchasing decisions based on anything that is generally available. And today we are going to talk about a lot of forward-looking things, features that are not released yet. So typically, I'm guessing none of you are going to make purchasing decisions, but if you are working with a company, you'll be in a position to tell your client what to buy, what not to buy. So yeah, make those decisions also based on what's generally available. I don't think I need to start introducing myself anymore, at which point it will be redundant. By the way, I have 13 certifications. That is also one more thing. And yeah, I hope all of you are following me on Twitter. And when you asked me to tell me something about myself, I was expecting like a 2-minute thing where I thought I'll say I'm a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z, any cartoon characters, as well as Harry Potter, which is why I put these three bits together. So yes, in case you want to talk to me about any of those, I'm more than happy. In school, we used to actually play these Pokemon games.
I had a question. Who is your favorite character in Dragon Ball Z?
Of course, I'm standing beside that person.
Oh, Goku. Okay, then Harry Potter, except Harry, who is that one? In Harry Potter.
Except Harry, I would say Snape.
Yes. Aditya. Yeah, man, I'm the big fan of Snape. Do you know I was the more fan of Snape rather than Harry?
Yeah, I sort of never liked Harry a lot because of him, many people died. And whenever he fights with Voldemort, all the thing he says is Expelliarmus. I mean, of all the spells that are there, that is the one stupid spell that comes to his mind. So yeah. Thank you all, by the way, for attending this on a Sunday. And in case you have already watched TrailheaDX live, thank you for that also. Okay, main show highlights. I will just go over them at a very high level. In case time is left at the end, we'll do a demo because the last 2 times I was doing a lot of demos on features that are not released yet. It led to a lot of questions for which I didn't have answers to. And also the fact that these are not generally available, I think more and more details will come in later. But at a very high level, the things that we launched is Salesforce Anywhere, which basically gives you a chat first experience on Salesforce. I mean, I don't know how many of you have started using the Salesforce mobile app, but it's actually a mobile version of Lightning experience. You get to do everything, create records, update records, look at your pages, Lightning Web Components, all of it is available on the mobile app. But with Anywhere, what we are trying to do is foster more collaboration between all of your employees or all of the Salesforce users. So it's kind of going to be like WhatsApp, where you have a bunch of chat conversations and you can subscribe to alerts on record. So in case you are interested in a particular opportunity and want to get notified whenever the opportunity value changes or something like that, you can just subscribe to all of them from this user interface itself from the mobile app. You'll get notified. And within the chat, just like you attach images and files, you can also attach Salesforce records. And the other people will be able to see the record. Basically, a lot of collaboration that is going to happen. Finally, the same experience is also available on the desktop, where you have a chat icon on the top right corner. You click that, and then the same chat window appears. That is the current state of how things are. Going forward, again, forward-looking statement, we might come out with ability to voice and video call with others right from within your Salesforce org. So that was one of the hottest announcement. Everyone is excited about it. More details to come on how admins can make use of Anywhere, what parts of Salesforce Anywhere is configurable by admins and developers. We'll have to wait for more details to come out. Then we introduced Code Builder. It's an online place where you can go and build all of the code that you need on Salesforce. So currently you have the developer console to write code. You have the workbench to run queries or make REST API callouts. What we are trying with Code Builder is we are trying to provide a unified interface for all of those. And currently for Lightning Web Components, you'll have to install VS Code, install plugins, and then start working on it. But with Code Builder, you directly get to just launch the Code Builder from the browser and start working on it. If it is one line of code, you can do that. If it's an entire project, you can build it using Code Builder. So that is something that we have piloted. A few select customers have access to this. If you want access to the pilot version, you'll have to talk to the account executive. But typically, the way pilot works is there are customers who want to use it, they subscribe to it, and then developers get access. So I don't think as developers, you can directly request for pilots. It is a very closed set of people that have access to this. So that is Code Builder. Again, whatever is the familiar user interface that you have on Visual Studio Code, it is the same thing online. I really wouldn't call it Visual Studio Code Online, primarily because even though the user interface is the same, we are trying a lot of things with it to make it more simpler and not so overwhelming, because if you look at the screen, there are so many things that you can do. Depending on your job function, if you're an admin, maybe you don't need some of those. So there's a lot of work being done on Code Builder. So just stay tuned for more details. I mean, once a segment is done, I'll take a look at the chat and answer all the questions. The next thing, feel free to put it on the chat window. I'll take a look at it at once. The next thing we introduced is the DevOps Center. Again, it's a solution that we are trying to come up with to make the CI/CD process friendly for admins. So right now, if an admin makes a change on the Salesforce org, and you have set up a CI/CD process, which involves GitHub, it involves a third-party CI/CD vendor. So it's a job of the admin to sort of commit their changes into GitHub. But admins necessarily need not know how to do that because they don't code, and committing to GitHub requires you to run a lot of commands and stuff. So this is going to solve that problem where through the same Salesforce interface, you can fetch all the changes that you have made in a particular sandbox. And then with the click of a button, you can commit all those changes to the GitHub repo. So that is the first installment of DevOps Center that we are rolling out. It's going to become more and more full-fledged CI/CD. The whole DevOps process you can manage within Salesforce going forward. But the first version is for you to commit your changes without having any code. I mean, without using code, you can commit your changes into a GitHub repository. All of these are announcements, I think, except Salesforce Anywhere. You won't be able to use any of them really starting now. Finally, I'll spend a little bit of time on Salesforce functions because I have a demo. I want to show a little bit of code also. So before that, let me look at the questions that you might have. How Salesforce Anywhere is different from Salesforce app that is on Play Store. So that is what I said. The Salesforce app is lightning experience on mobile. So your tabs, your apps, any app pages that you build, your Lightning Web Components, all of those are available on the Salesforce mobile app. Any customization that you make on the desktop is automatically reflected there. But Salesforce Anywhere is a brand new mobile app that we are launching, which is kind of like a standalone app with only these messaging features that I spoke about. So from the Anywhere app, you only can send messages, receive alerts, share records and stuff. There is also a little bit of functionality where you can view at the record details. But if you really want the full Salesforce experience, then you'll have to go with the Salesforce app. So at the moment, there are these two different apps. Maybe in the future, we are going to combine them into one single app so that everything is in the same place. Can you please explore more about Code Builder? Please elaborate, because which particular point of Code Builder you want to know, I'll be able to do that. Is Code Builder now available to work online? Not really. It is a very closed pilot with a select group of customers. We have given access to them. They are providing us with feedback, and we ourselves have a lot of features that we are yet to build onto Code Builder. So it's not like generally accessible to everyone to work on it, but we definitely stay tuned to receive updates. When will Code Builder launch? We generally don't give out a date just like that. So that is why it is stay tuned. Now using DevOps, no need to use release management tools like Copado and all. That is a question that even I have. Right now, because the DevOps Center itself is not very mature, it is only giving you the ability to commit your point and click changes into a GitHub repo. I think Copado and all you can still continue to use, primarily for the reason because things like DevOps, they happen at the version control level. So things from one branch can automatically get deployed to another branch and then move across environments from sandbox to production. So we haven't built a full-fledged solution yet. So I think your existing setup will continue to work. But once this moves close to GA, that is generally available, we might be able to give you more details on how you can architect your whole DevOps process, including all of these tools and the DevOps Center. How do we choose between, all of those questions, how do you choose between Copado, SFDC, inbuilt? We will definitely share more details. Right now, this is only a product launch, which means we tell you what is coming out, we get you excited about it, and as and when it is rolling out, we give you a lot of information on how you can use it, which includes any videos that I might do, my team might do, any blog posts. So there is a lot of things that we do whenever a new feature goes generally available to help you as much as possible. Okay, there is a question, explain the role of Salesforce in TCS. That I'll take it a little bit later because I'm answering all the technical questions now. Is Code Builder same as VS Code? I mean, the underlying infrastructure is the same. I mean, we use Visual Studio Code Spaces for the online version, which is again a product by Microsoft. So the user interface and all is going to remain the same, but everything is on the cloud. So your file system, all of those get onto the cloud. With VS Code, you just download the VS Code and then you'll have to manually install all the Salesforce extensions. But with Code Builder, we already pre-install all of them for you. So you just launch it and start working, just like you do Developer Console. So you launch the Developer Console, open a page or class and start working on it. So that is the same experience we want to give, but with more tooling. So in Developer Console, you don't have this autocomplete. You can't hover over a feature and get to know its detailed description. So all of those are coming in. So in Code Builder, we also get multiple extensions. Yeah, the Salesforce extension pack will be loaded by default. But since it is again backed by the same Visual Studio Code Spaces, you can install any other extensions that you might want also. So that was about the three major announcements. I'm actually still getting a lot of questions. I think anything else will take it a little bit later. So the next interesting feature is Salesforce functions. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to write a piece of code on programming languages like Node.js, Java, or Apex. And then you can deploy it onto our serverless runtime. So basically, Salesforce functions is based on the concept of functions as a service. So what happens in functions of a service is you write a piece of code, and typically it need not be hosted on a server. It doesn't need a server to run, which is why we call it the serverless infrastructure. So whenever you invoke that function runs, and it uses whatever resources it needs to give you the output. And then that's it. The function then no longer occupies any memory or anything like that. So that is functions as a service. Now with Salesforce functions, we are getting that capability onto the Salesforce platform. So Salesforce, generally, if you ask me in terms of cloud computing, where does it fall in? Salesforce falls in under platform as a service and software as a service. So on the platform as a service, we are also now offering functions as a service. Now, I don't know if you have noticed when I mentioned it, but you can create these functions using Node.js and Java also. So you need not be limited anymore by the kind of programming languages that you learn for Salesforce. I mean, until now, it was all proprietary languages like Visualforce and Apex. I mean, not now, but until 3 years ago. But then we launched Lightning Web Components, which is completely based on web standards. What it means is that any person who knows JavaScript, who knows web components, they can get started on Salesforce right away without much of a learning curve. That is a front-end technology. So in the back end also, we want to open up our platform for all the millions and millions of developers out there. And Node.js is quite largely used server-side JavaScript language. I mean, everywhere you see it is Node.js. And now that you have the flexibility to do this, any developer who knows Node.js can come and build on the Salesforce platform. And if you are somebody who's learning Salesforce right now, you can actually even learn Node.js and call yourself a full stack developer maybe. But whatever you're learning right now, we want all your skills to be reusable. So that is why we are trying to invest more in these open programming languages. But Apex and all is still going to continue to exist. But now we have these new capabilities. And what is the advantage with functions is that even though you write, so let's say you write an Apex class, and if you write it as an invocable service, you can actually call it from your process builder or your flow builder, and all of those are possible, right? So in a very similar way, whatever function you write with Node.js or Java, these functions can also be called from any of the point and click tools. Like you can trigger a function whenever a platform event is received, or you can call it from your flow and process builders. And of course, you can also invoke these Node.js, Java functions from Apex also. Now, the whole reason we are going ahead with the serverless infrastructure is resources. So right now, you won't be able to perform anything that is process intensive on Salesforce. So let's say you want to compress an image. I don't think Apex is capable of doing that. If you want to generate a PDF, Visualforce was able to do it earlier, but Lightning Web Components can't do that. Which is why we want to give more power to the developers, more access to third-party libraries. So Node.js has a bunch of libraries, I'd say millions of libraries out there, which specialize in their own functions. So you can use all of that, which means you can write better apps without having to rely on more third-party services. Everything is going to be within Salesforce. Now, this is again in a nutshell what Salesforce functions is really capable of. If you want to run financial calculations, image processing, demanding queries that will take a lot of time to run, all of those can easily be done using functions. So I can show you a quick demo on how it's going to look. Basically, this is your project on VS Code. Okay, and it contains your Force app folder. You have your Lightning Web Components. You have your Apex classes and all of it. But now, in order to create a function, you will actually run this command. Okay, so what this command is going to do, it's very similar to the command that you use to create any other component in Salesforce. You're going to create a function. Again, please note, this is a pilot feature that I have access to. So everything and anything, including the command structure, might change in the future by the time it becomes GA. But just so that you can see how easy it is to work with other programming languages inside Salesforce. You initiate a function. It takes in one parameter, that is the function name. Here it is demo query 5. And the other one is the language in which this function is supposed to be written in. And here I've written JavaScript. In the initial version, we are going to support JavaScript and TypeScript. TypeScript is a strongly typed JavaScript language, so not a lot of difference there. Going forward, we are going to support Java and Apex also. But for now, this is a very simple command that you can run to create a function. And what this is going to do is it is going to create a bundle within the functions folder. So here you see I already have all of these functions from my previous demos. And in a minute or two, the demo query 5 will also be created. So once you expand demo query 5, what you see is a different folder structure. It is not like your web components and all. And the reason is, this is how the structure of a typical Node.js project is. It has a package.json file, and it has index.js, which is the actual function code. And within this, you'll see that it is a very simple function, just like any other JavaScript function. In the end, Node.js is JavaScript. Now here, the function takes in 3 parameters: event, context, and logger. Event is going to hold the data which you send as parameters. The context of the invocation is going to be present there. And the context parameter is going to store your connection between Salesforce and the function. So in Apex, you never need to worry about connecting to Salesforce or connecting to the database to get your results. So very similarly, in a function also, you need not worry about any database connectivity or connection to a Salesforce org. You just run a simple query using whatever syntax. Again, syntaxes might be new. You need to memorize them. But yeah, this is a simple query that you run. And then you print the results. So just like you have a lot of printing statements in different programming languages, like in Salesforce, it is system.debug for Apex, console.log for JavaScript. Similarly, in Node.js, you have logger, which is logger.info, logger.error, anything that you want, you can write. And once you have written this function, first thing you can do is you can test it locally. And in order to test it locally, what you do is you run this simple command, which is function start. And then the function is going to start locally. And there's a lot of output that comes to you whenever you start it locally, because we install all of the Node.js dependencies. We create a local server for you and all of that. So it takes a little bit of a time to create a setup, and then your function starts running. Now, when the function starts running, you actually can invoke it using this command. Because this is invoking locally, you typically invoke the local host wherever your server is running. But once you deploy this function to Salesforce, you can just call it like any other class method, or you can call it from your process builders and stuff. So if I make a call out this way to my localhost server, it's going to return the results anytime now. So that is how you typically write functions, execute them. And here the power you get is, this is a very, very simple function with just a query. But here what you see is you can import any Node.js modules that you want. So in case you want to work with generating PDFs, compressing images, sending SMSs out, So there are a ton of Node.js libraries. You just import them and then use them within your function. So you're getting the power of Node.js inside Salesforce. And here you can see there is this output that I received after hitting my endpoint. And these two other records from Salesforce that I have received in my function. So this is a glimpse of how functions work and how you can use it. But like I said, this is the pilot version of it. By the time it comes to beta and you guys can access it, maybe we make it more streamlined. Maybe the syntax of the command line or anything else. So functions, I'm seeing a lot of questions. So let's see. Okay. Vijayawada is much happy. Put your queries in chat window. Oh, none of this is regarding functions, huh? Okay. Can we use functions without using libraries in Lightning? I mean, the library, whatever you import is something that is local to the index.js file. But when it comes to Salesforce, you only need to invoke it using the function's name. You need not worry about importing any libraries or anything like that. So just like you invoke a class saying class name.method name, you can invoke this function using a particular syntax. Let's say function.demoquery5.invoke. It's going to be very simple to invoke functions that you need not worry about. So yeah, I think either you guys understood or you didn't understand because I'm not seeing any questions. So at a very high level, the core messaging here is in case you are interested to learn Node.js, you need not think that if I learn Node.js, I can't work with Salesforce. You get best of both worlds. So you have access to all the point and click features and the brilliant ecosystem of Salesforce we have. And along with your passionate interest of Node.js or Java, let's say, it becomes easy for people to port from other languages also. Now, that is at a very high level, all the largest features that are coming out. Now, at TrailheaDX, we had this keynote where these big features were launched. And then there were these sessions where there were 20-minute sessions on various technical topics. And let's look at few of those session highlights. Starting with admin sessions. Admin sessions, we are introducing dynamic forms and actions. So this is one of the most requested feature on Idea Exchange. So in case some of you don't know what Idea Exchange is, it is a place where you can submit your ideas to Salesforce. So in case you think a lot of customers or you will benefit from a feature, you put it on the Idea Exchange. And if multiple people have the same idea, they'll vote on it. And once it gets enough votes, it actually comes onto our product roadmap and we roll it out. And dynamic forms and actions happens to be one such product which everyone heavily requested. So with this, what basically happens is we break down your page layouts into individual fields. I can show you a quick demo. This is right now available only for custom objects. So let's go to the app builder and look at our custom object detail. So you can start trying this out on your Summer 20 orgs. It is available, but I don't think it is generally available though. So you can edit a detail page and wait for it to load. Okay, it is taking some time. We'll give it some time. Yeah. So once it is loaded, what you can do is you can just click on the detail component and you'll see on the right hand side an upgrade wizard to upgrade it to dynamic forms. So you click upgrade, you click next, and you click finish. So what has happened here really is your page layout has now been broken down into individual components, and each field is treated as a component. So on your page layout, if you have defined a particular field as required, we retain that UI behavior once you migrate from your detailed pages to dynamic forms. And because now each individual field is behaving like a component, you can drag and drop them right from within your app builder, which means you need not go to a page layout to edit the layout. I mean, I can actually remove some fields also. Everything is in my control. And if I want to drag and drop new fields, beside components, there is now a new tab called fields. You use that and all the fields from your object are present. You can drag and drop them back. And it is not just into this particular section. Wherever you want to drag and drop the field, you can do it. Just drag and drop the field section and put the end time, let's say, and put the start time. So complete flexibility on using fields. And because each field is now behaving like a component, you can define whether to hide and show them based on app builder filters. So in the app builder, you can just quickly add a filter saying, I want to show the prerequisites field only if the session type is hands-on. Only then there are some prerequisites, which is when I want to show the field. So this is the flexibility you get with dynamic forms, and in a very similar way, there are dynamic actions as well. So these buttons on the top, you define your actions on every object. You can hide and show those different buttons based on field criteria and all of those things. So that is the complete dynamic nature that we are giving out to forms to make it more easier for people to look at the Salesforce UI. Again, feel free to try it out, ask any questions on the chat window here, or post it on Twitter, Stack Exchange, wherever it is that you want. And an important change in cases where you are using version control system, the metadata structure of a flexi page. Whenever you create a page in App Builder, in the backend, it gets created as a flexi page, a file. The structure of that file is going to change starting summer 20. So instead of just having a component instance inside a flexi page region, you're going to have an item instance inside which the component instance is going to be present. We have changed the structure because we need to support the new fields also that can be used, because fields are no longer these components. So make this change in the backend in case you are relying on a version control system to be the source of truth. Make sure you make this change on all of your flexi pages because if not, you won't be able to deploy them to Summer 20 orgs anymore. Next, what's new with flows? So flows is, I think, one of the most powerful automation features that Salesforce has, and we are upgrading it a lot these days. There's a ton of work being done. I mean, 2 years ago, we used a Flash-based plugin for flows, and the UI looked horrible. But now we have revamped the UI as well. So a lot of investment is going on into flows. And now with flows, what you can do is you can trigger record changes. Now you can trigger flows on record changes. Either it can be before save or after save. You can trigger flows on platform events, and you can trigger flows on a schedule. And these are available starting summer 20. And the reason I say all of these are important is because up until now, if you had to execute a piece of code or do something on any of these operations, you had to write code. So let's say you wanted to run a daily cleanup job where all the stale accounts or whatever get deleted automatically at the end of the month. You would actually have to write a batch class or a scheduled class and then run it. But now with flows being triggered on schedule, all of it can be done with point and click. Because you trigger it on a schedule, You drag and drop the record delete or record update components, specify some parameters, and automatically all of it happens. And since you can trigger flows on record updates, some of the use cases for which you had to write Apex triggers can now be done with flows itself. And in some cases, now comparing it with the process builder, these things, record triggering things on record change was available in process builder before. Now it's available in flows also. So basically, when you want to compare process builder and flows, in some cases, what we noticed is flows is up to 10 times faster. So depending on whatever your use case is, try creating it in both process builder and flows. And if you find flows to be significantly faster, then stick with flows. But yeah, general guidance on best practices on when to use what. Maybe blogs are going to come out very soon. But yes, flows is going to become more powerful. And starting winter 20, that is the next release, we are going to give out multi-column screens. So whenever you create the screen component, you can only have a single column right now. But you can have up to 12 columns going forward from winter 20. And also to help you use flows a lot and to help you build them quickly, we are also introducing the automation components. So automation components is a sample app. And when I say sample app, you'll all have to take a look at the sample gallery, which is on Trailhead. Just Google for it and you'll come to this page. And what we do with the sample gallery is, these are sample applications that are built on the Salesforce platform that show you all the awesome things that you can do. So for example, if you want to see how you want to use Lightning components to build this kind of an interface, which has the capability of drag and drop and all of it, you can look at this app. So what are features that we use to build this app? We have listed it down here. So if you want to look at how you can implement communities, you can do it. And of course, recipes, I hope most of you should be knowing about it because that is the easiest way to learn Lightning Web Components. Now, all of these are open source. You can just click on view on GitHub icon. You'll be taken to the GitHub repo, which has all of the source code. And also installation instructions. If you want to install this and see how it is working, you can do that. And my team is actually actively involved in keeping these up to date. So we spent all of last week working on writing test scripts for all of our components so that you can refer to them. And every release, we try to incorporate all the generally available features into all of the sample apps. For example, recently in summer 20 release, you now can use Lightning messaging service, which is a replacement for PubSub. So in case you want to do inter-component communication, so one component which is not a child or parent, you want to communicate between sibling components, whether those components both are built in LWC or Visualforce, it doesn't matter. Any two components, if they want to communicate with each other, you can use Lightning message service. So we implemented Lightning messaging service on all of the apps. I would encourage all of you to bookmark this, take a look at it, because this is how it is very easy for you to learn. You can look at a UI, and if you're interested, you can look at the code that has been written into that UI. Now, as a part of all of this, we have the automation component sample app. And this is a little bit different from the other sample apps in a reason because this is not built for a UI purpose. So these are individual building blocks for building flows. Again, scroll down, look at the README file and go to the components reference. So here, what you'll find is the most commonly used tasks. And for these, you'll find the relevant components that are already pre-created. So in case you want to sort a record list, so you get a list of records and you want to sort them in alphabetical order. And if you are wondering, how do you want to do that? You can actually come to this automation components, go to this, and what you'll see here is the invocable action for it, which means you know what the component is, just copy paste it from here. I mean, we encourage you to copy paste as much as possible. look at the component, copy paste into your org, look at the documentation and use it. So not a lot of rework. A lot of customers are using flows, and we know what the customers want, what the customers are typically using on a day-to-day basis. And that is how we have come up with these list of components so that you don't have to duplicate your efforts. Okay, so somebody raised their hand. Do you want to ask a question? It's a limit of number of field filters that can be applied to dynamic forms. Okay, back to dynamic forms. I don't know if there is any limit on the number of field filters, because typically on the app builder, you can right now add filters on any component that you want. So whatever is the limit on the number of filters you can add on components, that is the same limit that is going to be present on the fields also. And I don't think there should be any limit. It is just a conditional statement. But if you find yourselves creating a very complex filter, then I would question the requirement altogether on why do you need such a complex filter. Maybe you create a field which stores that filter value and just filter based on that one field. There are a number of ways you can work around with the limits, but yeah. Okay, so that was about automation components. I mean, you need not really learn everything from the session that I'm giving. It is just for your awareness. So in case you find a feature that interests you, you can always go and do a deep dive on it. All of the material is available on Google. You can also look at all of these recordings on the TrailheaDX website. So it's just to introduce you to all of these topics in case you missed attending it, and any feature that you might find interesting, do a deep dive. Coming to architect sessions, I mean, I don't know how many of you are architects, which is why, I mean, in case some of you is interested in a deep dive, please let me know on chat. But if not, I'll just cover each of these topics in about 1.5 minutes. So similar to automation components, I mean, we know what customers are working on. We know the industry. So what we have done is, for architects, we have built customer 360 guides. And what the guides have is all the success stories of successful implementations. So if you take a typical B2C use case, let's say Amazon.com. What does Amazon.com do? It sells products to you, and there are multiple things involved in that. So for example, they have a public facing website. They have a shopping cart. The moment as a customer you add an element to the shopping cart, there is a workflow that needs to be triggered, which means either I buy it from the cart or I forget about that item in my cart and I close the window. At which point I need to receive an email that says, hey, you left an item in the cart. Are you willing to buy it? So that is the general consumer experience that I expect. And whenever I raise a support ticket with Amazon, I call them up and I say, okay, this is my phone number. I'm expecting a response from the service rep to say, oh, so I see these are the recent orders that you placed, which order is problematic, and all of that. I'm expecting Amazon to already know about it. I don't want to get on a phone call with a service rep and again give out my details, give out my order number, and then they fetch that order number. Then they again ask me what the problem is. That is a very bad experience. So that is about a typical B2C use case. And they send out marketing emails. So every 2 days, I get an email in my inbox saying, okay, these are the new products based on your purchase history. So all of those are typical use cases any company in the B2C industry goes through. So I gave an example of Amazon, but now tomorrow, if I consider Flipkart also goes through the same cycle, because in the end, both of them are in the same industry. And the Salesforce solution you build for that also might look the same. So in case Amazon says all of my products are on an SAP system, and I want to integrate with SAP to pull out all the product list. Now SAP has a standard table structure, Salesforce has a standard product object, and the mapping between these two is always going to remain the same. If there are custom fields, of course, there is a little bit of customization. But if you look at a very high level, the way you integrate both the systems, the components of Salesforce that you use. So let's say you use Salesforce communities, you use Service Cloud. So all of these are typical use cases. And what we have done is we have combined all of that into a documented form. So we provide you with reference architecture. So we say for a B2C use case, this is how an architecture is going to look like. And we also provide you with solution kits, which means we show you both a high level architecture, and we also dive deep by saying that, okay, in this, you're going to use MuleSoft. In MuleSoft, you're going to use this accelerator. You're going to use this connector. So the entire technical design is something that we are offering it up to you. And all of these technical solutions that we give out is completely approved by Salesforce. So we know we have vetted all of these. We know all of these are following the best practices. So I would encourage all the architects to go and look at it. And if you're a developer, you're interested to become an architect, you're also interested to look at how things work behind the scenes and not just the component that you build, definitely take a look at Customer 360 guides. It is available for free. It is available right now. And we have now started with one of these guides. Go and take a look at it. There are multiple guides that are coming out, and we're also looking for your input. So in case, again, like Idea Exchange, there is a voting mechanism that is built. So if all of you vote on, let's say I want, instead of a B2C use case, I'm looking at a commerce is B2C, by the way. I'm looking at a health cloud use case. Then we are going to roll out a 360 guide on using health cloud, or for the healthcare industry or things like that. So please take a look. You'll find it interesting. And architectural patterns for data privacy. I mean, this is something I would say not just the architects, but as a developer, all of you also have to be aware about data privacy. Because in the end, when you're building something, privacy is the most important thing that all of the customers have right now. And you as a developer or an architect are building solutions which store all of this personal information on Salesforce. So let's say on the contact object, you're creating contact records. And you build a public facing website and you just ask the user for their email address and phone number, randomly create those two fields and then save the details. But that you will run into a lot of troubles in the future because of all the privacy laws that are coming out in various countries. So typically what we expect with data privacy is you as a developer, you as an architect, you need to know these four things. You need to know where you're storing the personal information of people. I mean, which objects have personally identifiable details. And the system must also give the individual the ability to upload, download all of their details. So for example, on Facebook, I can go to my profile and I'll say, I want to download all of my photos. They have given me the option to do that. So similarly, any system should be capable of doing that. You need to have the ability to communicate these across different systems. So let's say you have a Salesforce system, and then you have another backend system like MailChimp, which is used to send out emails. Now you're storing the opt-in details. So every email that you get, you have to opt into it. Those opt-in details are stored in Salesforce. But now how does MailChimp know whether you have opted in or not? You might have opted in, but if MailChimp doesn't know, even if you have opted out, it still sends the email, which is violating my trust. So I say, I don't want to receive emails from you, but I'm still receiving it. So that's a legal ground for a case. So that we don't want. Finally, you have to document all of the activity. So every time you take in any personal detail from the user, you'll have to document why you have taken it, for what purpose, for how long you're planning to store that data, and you'll have to delete that data after that time has expired. So those are the patterns that all the customers are expecting, and within Salesforce, we have created this data model for that. So all of your contact, lead, and users, we know are the typical places where customer information is going to be present. So we tie them all to one single individual object. And in these individual objects, there are a bunch of different objects which let you track consent, which means you have given consent on using the email address to receive marketing emails. So this is the data model for that. And if it is quite overwhelming, you can directly use this consent capture app, which is again free for use. It's a Salesforce Labs application. So Salesforce Labs is our internal team that hosts a lot of apps which are free for use. So you can use the Salesforce Labs app called Consent Capture. It has all the flow templates that you need. It has the UI layer that you need. And I can show you how it works. So after you install that App Exchange product, you can add it to any detail page of the contact. And once you go to a contact, I've added it here on the right-hand side. It's going to show you whether you have captured consent for this user or not. So in order to capture consent, you click on next. You say what kind of consent are you capturing. You want to send them product updates maybe. So the consent is given. What is the consent type? Whether you want to send them emails or SMS, it depends on what you want to capture. And then for how long this consent is valid for. And then you have to explicitly opt them in. So this is all the end user workflow. How did you acquire this consent? Through phone. And then click next. And then the contact point type consent record is created. So the next time you go to this contact record, you can see that you have permission to use their email and to only send them product updates. So this is the UI layer for it. Now you can also automate this from the backend using any of the tools of your choice. But in case you're looking for a UI-based solution for this and for communities, you can make use of the consent capture. And the other thing that we have rolled out is Salesforce Data Mask. And this is used in order to mask the data that comes in from production. So typically production is going to have live user data. But then once you refresh your sandbox, like a full copy sandbox, the data also gets replicated. But we don't want that, because in a sandbox, we might do anything. By mistake, if we send out a test email to the customer with the actual email address, it causes problems. So which is why you can use the Salesforce Data Mask in order to basically make them non-legible values. There are different settings that you can give, where you say, I want to delete this field value, or I want to replace this field value with some random numbers. So you can use Data Mask for that. And finally, we are also launching Data Privacy Manager soon. And all of the automation that we are expecting, like deleting all of the data after a certain bit of time, or having the ability to export all of the users' data in one go, all of those automation, and including the consent event stream, which means if somebody changes a value in Salesforce on the consent objects, the connected systems will automatically get notified. So for all of that automation, we are launching this Data Privacy Manager to help you with the privacy needs. Again, this is purely informational at the current moment. Please note that this is something that is coming out in the future, so that you can start using it or tell your customers that you're going to deploy this solution once it is generally available, things like that. So that was at a very high level, the architect sessions. And when it comes to developer sessions, I would say there is not a lot of things that is new. One thing is new is the safe navigation operator. So in the safe navigation operator, what we are doing is the way you check for null conditions, we are making it easy. So you just use the question mark and dot operator to check for null conditions. Now the primary reason why you do this is if you take this statement, foo.bar.size. Now if bar is null, this method is going to throw an exception by saying attempt to dereference null object. So you'll have to explicitly check this field or property or method is not null before you invoke something on it. And the way you do it right now is you say if bar not equal to null, then bar.size. So that's like 2 lines of code that you are writing. But with this operator, you need not do that anymore. Just put a question mark before the dot, and it automatically checks if this is null. If it is null, it doesn't execute this. Only if it is not null, then this gets executed. So that is how simple we are making it with the safe navigation operator. It is coming soon, probably in the next release. So stay tuned for that. Now APIs, a lot is happening on the API front because we want to integrate Salesforce with external systems very easily. And for that, what we are doing is we are relaxing a little bit of the limits that you have on APIs. So there is a limit on the number of API calls that you can make to Salesforce in a given 24-hour period. Now, previously what used to happen is whenever you exceeded that limit, we used to stop you from making any further API calls in that 24 hours. But now it is a more relaxed limit, which means it is a soft limit. So even though you exceed it, we are not going to stop you from making any more calls, but we just send you an email or things like that saying, okay, you have exceeded your daily API limit. Please refactor your implementations or whatever. So we are not going to stop you from firing any more APIs. So that's a new usage-based entitlement. Maybe you'll have to pay for those extra things. I have no idea, but that is how it works. I don't know how many of you would have run into these locking issues. Typically, locking happens when two transactions are trying to work on the same record. So if you update two child objects and both the child objects update the same parent record, then you might run into locking issues. And to prevent that from happening using APIs, we are launching the bulk API 2.0, which is faster, quicker, and more favorable towards locking conditions. Finally, in APIs, we're also launching the SOQL fields as a pilot function. So typically the problem you face with APIs is, let's say you want to fire a query on Salesforce using API. You write the entire query string and you send it as a parameter. And there is a limit on the number of characters that a parameter can contain. And this is not just from Salesforce, but a typical HTTP use case. There is a limit on the number of characters a parameter can contain. And in case your object has 500 fields and you start writing select ID, comma, all the 500 fields, there is a high chance you will exceed that limit. Which is why for APIs, we are launching this new fields function, which lets you specify if you want to query all fields, custom fields, or just the standard fields. So you just say select fields, and in brackets you say custom or standard or all. And then you fire that query, it returns the results with all the columns or only custom columns or only standard columns. So that way we are simplifying things from the API standpoint. Again, a good feature in case you're running into those issues. But as always, the least selective principle works. How to harness the vision and API. So this one is quite interesting actually. The Einstein OCR API is now generally available. So you can now use OCR to detect text from images. So previously we had image processing. So it was able to do object detection, image classification. It was able to do sentiment analysis on text. Now we are also able to read text from images. And for that, you can install this Einstein Vision and Language Builder from App Exchange. Again, it is free, which is going to give you an app that lets you explore all the Einstein APIs. So if you want to take a look, let's go back. And so I already installed that free App Exchange product on my org. And if I click view all, I can see the new Einstein playground. So I can click this Einstein playground and I'll be taken to a place where I can explore the entire APIs of Einstein in one go. So for example, if I want to work with image classification, there are predefined models. You can actually create a new model from right here. So the way it works with Einstein is to create a model or to run your picture or text against the given model, we expose a lot of APIs. And in case you think calling those APIs is too much work and it is causing a lot of problems, you can just install this package, create new model from here. So we will call the APIs on behalf of you, but we are providing you with a nice little user interface. So if you look at OCR, so here is where you can try out how OCR works. So let's say I want to detect contact details from a visiting card. So I can upload a file or I can give an image URL. But let me try and upload a file. So this is Cody's ID card. It has the first name, last name, whatever is the name of the address, height, weight, a lot of things. So this is an image. Now, what I want to do is I want to capture all of the details in this image and maybe I want to create a contact. So for that, I can, using the Einstein API, I can upload this image. And what it is going to return me is all the places where there is text present. And in the raw response, you can see that the attributes other, like what is the driver's license number, what is the expiry date. So first name, last name, all of it, it is going to individually get it out in a JSON format. Now that is what the API does. Now, but if you want to actually use it in your code, how do you do it? Do you need to again call all of these APIs, write a lot of HTTP requests? Again, no, because when you install this package, you're also going to get a bunch of wrapper classes. And what you need to do is you just need to call these wrapper classes and things get done for you. So let me show you one such class. File. Okay. One second while I navigate. Yeah, Einstein OCR demo. So here, this is the same functionality, but this is an Apex class. And here, the only thing that I'm doing is I'm writing this statement. Again, a bunch of wrapper classes. I'm initializing the prediction service. And I'm saying I want to do OCR on it. And I'm just calling the predict OCR method by passing the model ID and the license card image URL. So here you'll see I'm not doing a lot of callouts. It is just a wrapper class that I'm calling, and I'm parsing the response. A lot of code to parse the response, getting things from the map, putting it wherever you want. And I'm in the end debugging all of the information. So what is the first name, last name? So what happens if I run this is, so let me call Einstein OCR demo dot make OCR call. And it sends the request. I'll wait for the log to come. I'll click on the log. I'll click debug only. And what I can see is all the details that have been captured, first name, last name, address. So these details are now available in my Apex class, just using the predefined methods from the AppExchange product. With that, now since I have all of the details, I can create a contact record, I can create an account record, whatever it is that I want, I can do. So this is how you can use the power of Einstein APIs right inside Salesforce without having to do much work. Just install the package and write code. Now, okay, that is what you can do. But the announcement here was that Einstein OCR is now available. I think this is the final update where we have launched things for developer productivity. Of course, Code Builder is the largest thing we have announced for productivity. But what we're also doing is focusing a lot on local development. So in local development, you need not really deploy a Lightning Web component onto Salesforce to check how it works. You can actually run it locally, make changes, and then finally, if you're satisfied with the outcome, then deploy it to Salesforce. That will actually reduce a lot of time because you deploy, you wait for the page to refresh, and all of that takes a lot of time. But here, it is rapid prototyping is what we call it. Now the announcement here is you can also now preview on iOS and Android emulators. So not just a browser, but you can actually preview it on the iOS emulator that nicely appears on the right-hand side, or Android emulator. The only prerequisite is that you have the necessary developer tools installed. So if you want to preview on Android, you need to have the Android SDK installed on your system, and the same thing for iOS. So those are some of the things at a very, very high level that I wanted to cover. I think that was the last slide. And now that I know it was a little bit quick, I know it was not really complete, but for it to be complete, you need to watch the recordings because that is way more in detail. But this is just so that you know what features have come out, what features you need to do your deep dives on. So now I'm free to take any questions that you might have. So let me scroll on the chat window first. Redbus uses Salesforce, Alliance uses Salesforce. I can't comment on it. Bulk API batch limit is 10K, so is there any limit change? Again, the final limits, all of it is going to come in once it becomes GA. LWC on local will be damn cool. Actually, LWC on local is already present. I mean, if you guys have the time, I can show you how it works. So let me open recipes. And what you can do is you can hit Command Shift P, wait for some time for the modules to load. And I'm going to then show it to you. In the meanwhile, let's take. So you guys literally have no questions. I'm not seeing any questions at all. In the beginning, there were a ton of questions. No, to actually see the output, you need not deploy it also. So I'll show you why is that. So you hit Command Shift P and you say start local development server. And I think the extensions are still getting activated. Where did it start? Okay, this is supposed to work. Okay, let me figure it out. In the meanwhile, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, it is running. I don't want it to run 2 times, run 1 time. Any questions? Feel free to unmute. This will keep running. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Between we do have some questions, Aditya. So
yeah, please ask.
Yeah. So Shesha, are you there?
Yes, Suresh, I'm there.
Okay. I'll start asking the question. So yeah, we have covered. You have covered information on Code Builder. So we do have a question on the Code Builder itself. Like, why is Code Builder cost effective? Like, since we are having some other tools for free, like we have VS Code and Developer Console. So why it is cost effective? Why the Code Builder is cost effective?
I can't answer why, but I can say that we are trying to offer a freemium version. There is going to be some bit of it which is free and some bit of it which is paid. But the paid version is also going to be bundled with other developer features that you might need, like scratch arcs, sandboxes, and all of it. So in case the customer decides, I want to take this bundle, which has pricing details and all of that, you can definitely expect Code Builder to be bundled along with scratch or sandboxes, and then you get it for free. I mean, as a developer, you need not really worry about it. We will figure it out with customers what they want.
Okay. Okay, moving on, we do have another question. Like it is on maps, Salesforce maps. Okay, so like we had Google Maps in the market, right? And Salesforce is coming up with Salesforce map itself. So does Salesforce Maps compete with Google Maps? So what do
No, no,
you
no.
say on
See,
that?
both of those are completely different spaces. So Google Maps is more consumer focused, and what we have with Salesforce is more towards CRM. So the same question I originally had with the Einstein APIs and all, because Google already has OCR, Google already has language detection, but none of it was really in the context of Salesforce, and it was not for enterprise scalability for our CRM needs. So this is completely focused on CRM use cases. So Salesforce Maps is actually an acquired product. It was previously called Map Anything. And it not only shows you a map, like Google Maps shows you a map, you enter directions, you get it. But with Map Anything or Salesforce Maps, what you can do is you can define optimal routing. So let's say there is a service rep working for, let's say, Samsung air conditioners. There are 20 fittings across the day. Now, how do they prioritize which one to go first? How do they make sure they are doing the least amount of traveling and spending the least amount of time traveling and more amount of time working? So for all of those reasons, Salesforce Maps gives you ways in which you can do that. So it is a completely different use case.
Okay.
So that you need not worry about competition and all. All of us are in our own space.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we do have some questions in the chat window. Let's take a look into it. So a question from Darshana. So the question is in LWC. I faced one issue where I was not able to see on App Builder. Where
I'm
domain
talking from the top, LWC or if you're using Lightning Web Component, LWC. I tried in my Trailhead modules where I need to deploy. Okay, I will answer that question. I need more clarity.
Okay. Okay, we'll
so regarding OCR, can you please provide a showcase of parent-child field mapping? So typically OCR is only going to give you the text from an image along with what kind of property it is. So in case it is an address, it is going to say, I have detected this address from this image. Now, the parent-child relationship that you want to establish, if you are creating an account and contact, where are you placing the address field is up to you. Einstein OCR's duty is only to tell you what text is present in an image and what is it. If it is a name, it is an address, it is a phone number, that is what it does. Where do you want to store them is left to you. Now, this thing loaded local development server. So basically, I ran the local development server command. It created a local server. It opened up on port 3333. Now, these are all of my web components that are present in my org. So if I want to look at hello binding, I just click on it. And it's going to show hello binding locally. And it will show it in a moment. The advantage that you get with local development is hot reload. So anyways, this thing continues to work just the way it works on an org. It's just that it is not deployed yet. But watch what happens if I make a change. So I go to hello.html and maybe I type in something and I click on save. So this thing automatically refreshes and it shows you the latest output. So that way you don't even have to spend a lot of time clicking on the refresh button. You make the changes, come back here, and by the time you come back, it shows you the updated version. If it is not showing, this is hello binding, right? I updated it in hello. Hello binding. Okay, so here, let me put name and go back, it automatically refreshes. And you get to see the output right then and there. Now this can entirely be done offline. The only prerequisite we have in order for you to access data, of course, to access Salesforce data, you need to have an internet connection. but for a static web component use case, you need not have an internet connection also. You build it locally, you test it locally, and then deploy it. In case you have data needs, it is automatically going to connect to the Salesforce server and fetch the data, at which point, of course, internet is needed. But the deployment process is not needed. You need not push it or deploy, wait for the deployment ring to complete, then go back to wherever it is you're working, click on refresh. A lot of time saved if you're rapidly working on a component with local development server. The new thing that has come out is, so I can now right click and again go to preview component locally. It's going to ask me, other than the desktop browser, do I want to view it on the Android emulator or the iOS emulator? Of course, I need to have these installed. If not, even if I click on it, it's not going to run. So that is the new thing that has come out. So I think that clarifies your question, Darshana, saying that it's output. You need not deploy really to your org. It gets deployed locally and then you can see the output. OCR question we have solved. I'm new for LWC. So for LWC learning Aura, can we implement a scenario? See, Aura and LWC are completely different frameworks. You need not learn one in order to learn the other. But you can just forget about Aura. You will not use it anymore. Can we use standard lightning tags? Yeah, definitely. That is what we are doing here. The standard lightning import, all of it is available for you locally as well. My question is, in LWC, I faced an issue where I was not able to see on app builder where my domain is deployed is exposed as true. It was present in the org, but didn't come in the app builder. Two technical questions. I need to take a look at your org and find out more details. Not the right forum to answer that. As mathwork.com is doing lots of over image processing, is there any sort of help there in our Einstein image computing as code builder works on virtual machine? So we need to learn to create a virtual machine, or we just have to pay for it? Okay. You have combined two are different questions. Okay. Einstein image. It depends, really whatever is your use case. Take a look at what Einstein is capable of. It's capable of detecting objects within an image. It's capable of classifying an image. Now it is capable of reading text from an image, only those three. If you're able to do it on Salesforce, well and good, but you have to note that you have to pay additional licensing costs to get Einstein. If you don't want to use math.work, it's basically a comparison study. As code builder works on virtual machines, so that is the thing. You need not worry about anything. Just like you launch the developer console, you'll be able to launch code builder. Don't worry about virtual machines. Don't worry about port numbers. All of that is not a developer's concern. The developer's concern is launch code builder, write code and save. That's it. Good to see operations research being implemented. Okay. OCR can read barcodes from product label. I think there is a barcode reader. Not really sure though. But barcode readers are present in JavaScript also. You need not really invest in Einstein. You can just leverage a JavaScript library. You can point your phone to that, and then it's going to scan the barcode, QR codes. Those don't need Einstein. Those can be done with pure JavaScript. What if LWC is using data from Salesforce? Like I said, if you use Salesforce data, it is going to connect to the Salesforce instance and fetch the data, even when you're working locally. Make sure you have the internet connection. Do we need to set up anything to run in local? Yes, look at the documentation for LWC local development. There is a plugin that you'll have to install, after which you can just hit Command-Shift-P and say start local development server. Not sure my question is relevant. If we have a PDF in the following manner, can we use Salesforce to read the PDF, find the below 3 customers info? I was actually thinking of writing a blog post on this because Einstein is image detection. So you'll have to first convert a PDF to images, which means you upload a PDF, you use a HTML5 canvas. The PDF output can be printed on the canvas, and the canvas can then be exported as an image. Then you feed the image to Einstein. It's going to predict the results for you. So it's a 3-step process, and you can work with that. Prerequisites for learning local development, nothing, just install the plugin and just start. In Lightning Message Service limitations, it is written that you don't use it in managed packaged app. Why? I haven't read that, so I can't comment on it. Again, Lightning Message Service, it is still evolving. At the moment, I can't use it in communities as well, I guess. So yeah, again, stay tuned. We are rolling out more updates. Do we need to have dummy data to check out functionality from Wired in local? So local development makes sure that your LWC is running on your system without having to deploy. For all the data needs, it still goes to the Salesforce server and fetches the data. Because for Wire, in case you use the Apex class, it needs to run the Apex class on the Salesforce server and return the data to you. So that connection is needed for local development. Any update on controlling the order of execution? Not really. The order of execution on triggers or wherever it is like predefined industry standards. For LWC, is there any resource so that we can implement as in scenario like live? Okay, can you please elaborate that question?
Email Aditya, I had a question.
Yeah.
So why Einstein? Sorry. So why Einstein voice is retired?
Einstein voice is retired.
Yeah, July 10th or 13th is the date.
Okay. I mean, I haven't heard about Einstein voice till now. But Service Cloud voice has come out.
Yeah, that's it.
But I don't know. I haven't worked much on Einstein voice.
Mm-hmm.
Really, is it a feature? I never saw it.
Yes, it is there.
Yeah, any more questions?
Okay, guys. Shesha, we can jump to next thing.
Okay,
famous thing.
Aditya, so I think we are done with this TDX recap, right?
Yeah, if you have any further questions, you can ping me and ask. But I hope this session was helpful.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Still 150 plus are there.
Yeah.
What
And
is that?
still we have some interesting
Still 150 plus audience are there.